Ever thought about, that real satisfaction you get when you can actually talk to someone in another language and they understand you, especially with Spanish, right? Millions of speakers out there.
Yeah.
That feeling of connection, well, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our mission here is pretty clear.
Oh.
We want to break down the core foundational bits of Spanish, specifically in a way that clicks for you, especially if you're coming from English. We're aiming for those aha moments.
Precisely. Think of this as your roadmap. We're navigating the essentials. We'll look at how sentences work, the word order, questions, saying no.
Okay.
Then we'll tackle grammatical gender, that whole masculine, feminine thing for nouns.
Ah, yes, that one.
And articles, el, la, un, una, how and when to use them. Super important.
Right.
And verbs, of course. Infinitives, pronouns, those present tense endings for regular verbs. Plus the big irregulars like ser, estar, tener, hacer, and hey.
Yes.
Definitely. And finally, we'll touch on key syntax bits where adjectives go, common prepositions, question words using de for possession, and basic comparisons, practical stuff, focusing on the why behind it.
Sounds like a solid plan.
Yeah.
Let's jump right in with basic sentence structure. The good news, you said, is it's often like English.
It is, generally, subject, verb, object, like Juan come manzanas. Juan eats apples. Feels familiar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But here's a cool thing about Spanish. The verbs pack a punch. They tell you so much that you can often just drop the subject pronoun. Pro-drop, it's called.
Oh, right?
So instead of saying yo como manzanas, I eat apples.
You can just say como manzanas.
Exactly. Como manzanas. The O ending on como already tells you it's I. Using yo all the time can actually sound a little, well, unnatural sometimes.
That's efficient. Okay, so how about questions? In English, we lean on do or does. How does Spanish handle that?
Yeah, that's a key difference. Spanish doesn't need that extra helper verb. For a simple yes-no question, you can often just change your intonation and make it sound like a question.
Just like we sometimes do.
Right. Or you can flip the subject and the verb. So, tú hablas inglés, you speak English, becomes hablas inglés, do you speak English?
Okay.
You could say tú hablas inglés, but like we said, that tú often gets dropped. And don't forget the upside down question mark at the start when you're writing. Crucial visual cue.
Right. The S. Got it. So rising tone or swap the words. What about questions that need more than yes or no, like using que, donde, cuando?
Yeah, good question. With those question words, the usual pattern is question word plus verb plus subject if you state the subject.
Okay.
So where is Juan becomes donde está Juan? See, no is doing or anything extra. Donde then está? Pretty direct.
Makes sense. Simple structure.
Yeah.
Now the opposite. How do we make things negative? Say no.
Oh, that's generally quite straightforward. You just put no right before the conjugated verb.
Just before it.
Yep.
So, tengo dinero. I have money. To make it negative, no tengo dinero. I don't have money. Simple as that. No goes right before the action word. Okay, that seems easy enough. But I've heard about double negatives in Spanish. That sounds weird to an English speaker.
Yes. That's a really interesting point and a common hurdle. Spanish does use double negatives, and it's grammatically correct.
So like, no tengo nada.
Exactly, no tengo nada. Literally, I don't have nothing. Which, sounds wrong in English. We'd say, I don't have anything.
Right.
But no tengo nada is perfect Spanish. The rule is basically this. If a negative word like nada, nothing, nadie, nobody, or ninguno, none, comes after the verb, you also need no before the verb.
Okay, so two negatives are required then.
Correct. Like, no veo a nadie, I don't see anybody. But if that negative word comes first, before the verb, then you don't use the extra no.
Ah, okay. Example.
Nada me preocupa. Nothing worries me. See, nada is first, so no. It's a different logic, but it's consistent within Spanish.
That's a really key difference to grasp. Okay, let's shift gears to politeness. That to versus usted thing. It feels nuanced.
It is, and it's super important for sounding appropriate. To is your informal you. Friends, family, people your age.
Casual.
Right. Usted is the formal you. Showing respect, someone older, a boss, a stranger, in formal settings. Think of it like first name versus Mr. or Miss Smith.
Okay.
And here's the fascinating part grammatically. Usted uses the same verb forms as él, he, and ella, she. The third person singular form.
Really? So the verb itself shows formality.
Exactly. Asking a friend, how are you, is ¿cómo estás? That's the tú form of estar. But asking formally, Como está usted? Está is the third person form.
Wow. Okay, so I need to listen to the verb ending too.
Definitely. And for plurals, Spain uses vosotros informally and ustedes formally. Latin America generally uses ustedes for all plural you.
So usted is more common overall.
And Latin America, yes.
Yeah.
And ustedes also uses the third person plural verb form. As a beginner, if you're ever unsure,
Use usted.
use usted. It's safer. People will often invite you to be less formal, saying something like, puedes tú darme? You can use tú with me.
Good tip. Err on the side of politeness. Now, you mentioned earlier that Spanish word order can sometimes be flexible for emphasis. Should we, as learners, be trying that early on?
Good question. It's true. Spanish can shift word order more than English, often to highlight something. You might hear, a Pedro le regalé un libro, putting emphasis on Pedro instead of the more standard, le regalé un libro a Pedro. Both mean I gave Pedro a book.
Okay, I see.
Or maybe el martes viajo versus viajo el martes for I travel on Tuesday. But honestly, for effective communication when you're starting, stick with subject, verb, object.
Keep it simple.
Exactly. You'll be understood perfectly. You'll start picking up on those variations naturally as you get more exposure. Master the foundation first.
Solid advice.
Yeah.
Right, foundation strong. Okay, let's move to something that often feels, well, quite alien to English speakers.
Oh.
Grammatical gender. Why do inanimate objects have genders?
That's a big one. It's fundamental to Spanish.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems weird at first. The key thing to get is that grammatical gender, calling every noun either masculine or feminine, it's not about biology.
Okay, so libro isn't actually male.
Exactly. Libro is masculine in Libro, and mesa, table, is feminine, la mesa. There's no real-world logic based on the object itself. It's just a grammatical system.
A categorization.
Precisely. Think of it like a tag. Every noun gets a masculine or feminine tag. And here's the kicker. Everything related to that noun article's adjectives has to match that tag. It ensures harmony in the sentence.
So it's about agreement. Everything matches the noun's tag. Are there clues, patterns for telling if something is el or la?
There definitely are helpful patterns. The biggest rule of thumb, nouns ending in O are usually masculine.
Yeah.
El perro, the dog. Nouns ending in O are usually feminine. La casa, the house.
Mostly, okay.
Right. Beyond that, endings like the sion, hacion la nación, the nation, those are typically feminine. Also, dad, tad, tud, hombre, like la libertad, freedom, feminine.
What about words ending in E?
E can be tricky. Could be either. El estudiante, mal estudiante, el estudiante, female student, or a tigre, tiger. And another common one, words ending in often from Greek, tend to be masculine despite the A ending, like el problema.
And problema, that's a classic one. Are there any tricks like mnemonics people use?
Yeah, some learners find them helpful as a starting point. You might hear about LONERS for masculine endings, LONERS, and DINZA for feminine, DINZA.
Huh. LONERS and DINZA.
They're not foolproof by any means, but they can give you a framework.
Okay, so guidelines, patterns.
Yeah.
But I bet there are exceptions to keep us on our toes.
Oh, absolutely. Spanish loves its exceptions. You mentioned la mano, the hand ends in O, but it's feminine. And in Lia, the day ends in A, but it's masculine.
Right.
Others include el mapa, map, el planet, el sofá. Even shortened words like la foto. It's feminine because it comes from la fotografía. And those ema words we mentioned, like el problema, el tema.
Okay, lots of exceptions to learn. And I think I read somewhere about words that look the same but have different genders and meanings. That sounds like a recipe for confusion.
You're spot on. They exist. Like el capital, that's money or financial capital, but la capital is a capital city.
Wow.
Or el cometa, comet versus la cometa, kite, which is why the absolute best advice is learn the noun with its article. Don't just memorize mesa, learn la mesa.
Ah, okay. Burn la mesa into my brain, not just mesa.
Exactly. Make the article part of the word you learn.
Got it. So once we know the gender tag, masculine or feminine, how does that affect the other words around it? You mentioned agreement?
Yes, this is crucial. Gender agreement. Articles, nocilinen, and adjectives, red, big, new, must match the noun in both gender and number, singular, plural.
Okay, show me.
Mesa is feminine singular, so la mesa roja, the red table. La mesa is feminine singular, roja is feminine singular. If you said el mesa rojo, sounds very wrong to a native speaker. Same for masculine libro, el libro nuevo, the new book, not la libro nueva. And it works in the plural, too. Los libros nuevos, las mesas rojas, everything has to align.
It's like a grammatical dance.
Yeah.
How do we make adjectives match? Is it always just changing O to I?
That's the most common way, yes. Masculine adjectives ending in O change to O for feminine. Alto, tall, mask. becomes alta, tall, femme.
Simple enough.
But many adjectives ending in E or a consonant don't change for gender. They stay the same for masculine and feminine, like inteligente.
Ah,
So, el estudiante inteligente, la estudiante inteligente, the adjective only changes if you make it plural inteligentes.
this feels like something that just takes practice on lots of listening and reading. What are the typical mistakes beginners make here? Any tips?
Oh, very common mistakes include using the wrong article, el, instead of la, or forgetting to change the adjective ending, especially with tricky nouns like el problema, where you might forget the adjective needs to be masculine.
Like saying el problema dificulta instead of difícil. Oh wait, difícil doesn't change, right?
Right. Good catch. El problema difícil. But maybe like el sistema moderno, not moderna. The best tips. Practice full phrases, not just isolated words. Always learn the article with the noun. Maybe use color coding for gender in your notes. Look for ending patterns. And seriously, don't be afraid to look it up or ask. It gets more intuitive, I promise. Even we had to learn this stuff.
Okay, practice, pair the article, use cues, ask questions. Got it. Let's move on to those little words that go with nouns articles. The and on. Spanish has more variations, right?
Exactly. Spanish articles tell you more. They signal both gender and number. So for the definite articles are el masc, la sem, la femme, and la sem.
La, los, nas.
So el perro, la montaña, los perros, las montañas. And for onsome, the indefinite articles are un mascem, una masem unos, fem plural often means some, and unas fem plural also some.
Una, unas, unas.
Un perro, una montaña, unos perros, unas montañas. There's also a neuter article, lo, but you can probably set that aside for now. Focus on the masculine, feminine ones first.
Okay. Now, a big difference, I think, is that Spanish seems to use articles more often than English, like when talking generally.
That's a huge point, yes.
Yeah.
When you talk about a noun in general in Spanish, you almost always use the definite article. El, la, los, las. We often drop it in English.
Like cats are fun.
In Spanish, you'd say, los gatos son divertidos.
Yeah.
Literally, the cats are fun.
Yeah.
Or, I like chocolate. It's me gusta el chocolate. You need that el.
Me gusta el chocolate. Okay, have to remember that. Use the for general things. But are there times we don't use an article? Maybe where English would?
Yes, definitely. A key one is when you state someone's unmodified profession, religion, or nationality after the verb ser, to be.
Okay, like I am a teacher.
You'd just say, soy profesor, non. But if you add an adjective, then you do need the article. Soy un profesor dedicado. I am a dedicated teacher.
Ah, the adjective brings the article back.
Exactly, same for nationality. Es mexicana. She is Mexican.
No, una.
This trips up English speakers who want to say, soy un doctor. You just say, soy doctor.
Right. Unless maybe soy un buen doctor.
Perfect. Also with titles like señor, señora, you use the article when talking about them. El señor Gómez llega. Mr. Gómez arrives. But not when talking to them. Hola, señor Gómez.
Subtle but important. Now, what about al and del? Those look like smushed words.
They are. They're mandatory contractions. When the preposition a, tot, comes right before the masculine singular article el, they must combine into al.
Must, okay.
Yep. Voy al mercado. I'm going to the market. You can't say voy al mercado. Same thing with de or from plus el. It must become del. Vengo del parque. I come from the park.
So a plus el al, de plus el del. Only with el.
Only with el, not with la, los or las. So, voy a la casa, hablo de los problemas, no contraction there.
Okay, al and del are just for ad plus el. Any other weird article uses we should know about?
A few interesting ones. Spanish often uses definite articles with body parts or clothing where we'd use my or your, like, me duele la cabeza. My head hurts. Literally, the head hurts me.
Right. Not mi cabeza usually.
Not usually. Or me pongo la chaqueta. I put on my jacket. Also, remember the general noun rule? La gente. People in general. Los gatos, cats in general. And that slightly tricky one with feminine singular nouns starting with a stressed a sound, like agua, water, use el.
El agua. Even though agua is feminine.
Yep. El agua fría, the cold water. It's for pronunciation avoids la agua running together. But the noun is still feminine. Adjectives agree with feminine, fría, and in the plural it goes back to las aguas.
Ah, el agua but las aguas. Okay, that makes a bit more sense now. So final advice on articles.
Learn them with the noun. La casa, el libro, un problema, una solución. That embeds the gender. Focus on the big differences from English. Using arroslas for general statements and not using una for unmodified professions after ser. Get those down and you're well on your way.
Great. Okay, let's shift to the powerhouse of the sentence. Verbs and pronouns. This feels like where the real mechanics are.
Absolutely. Verbs are the engine. And Spanish verbs, they conjugate. Their endings change based on who's doing the action and when.
So one verb form tells you a lot.
A ton. Which, as we've said, is why you can often skip the pronoun. Master conjugation is, well, pretty central to speaking Spanish. Each ending is like a little code.
Okay, start us at the beginning. Infinitives.
The infinitive is the basic dictionary form of the verb, like to speak, to eat, to live. In Spanish, they always end in ar, or ir.
Hablar, comer, vir.
Exactly. Those endings tell you which conjugation group the verb belongs to. Different groups have different patterns.
On the pronouns. Yo, tú, él. Do we need them constantly?
Well, you need to know them. Yo, yo, tú, you, informal. Él, he, ellos, she, usted, you, formal. Nosotros, nosotras, we. Vosotros, vosotras, you all, informal Spain. Ustedes, you all. Ellos, ellas, they. But no, you don't use them constantly.
Because the verb ending does the job.
Often, yes. Use them for clarity or emphasis if needed. And remember the toosted politeness thing, and that usted and ustedes use those third-person verb forms.
Right, the formal ones take the hey, shithy verb forms.
Yeah.
Okay, how does conjugation actually work? Let's take the present tense. Regular verbs first.
Okay, regular are verbs like hablar, to speak. You chop off the R and add endings. O, as, a, amos, ay, an.
So, hablo, hablas, habla.
Hablamos, lais, hablan. For I speak, you speak, he, you, formal speak, we speak, you all, Spain speak, they, you all speak.
Got it. And our verbs, like come or to eat.
Chop off Endings are o, s, e, m, is, n.
Como, comos, com.
Con, comos, comes, come.
Any air verbs. Vivir, to live.
Chop off air. Endings. O, s, e, emos, is, n.
Vivo, vives, viv.
Vivimos, vivis, viven. Notice the air and air endings are very similar, except for the nosotros and vosotros forms.
Okay, so there are clear patterns for regular verbs, but irregulars. Spanish has a lot, right? Especially common ones.
It does. But don't panic. Many of the most frequent verbs are irregular, which means you get lots of practice with them. Think of the big five. Ser, to be. Estar, to be. Tener, to have. Ir, to go. And hasser, to domik.
Ser and a star. The two to be's. That's always a fun one.
Yes. Ser is generally for more permanent things. Identity, characteristics. Soy estudiante, I am a student. Estar is for temporary states, locations, feelings. Estoy cansado, I am tired. Big topic, but essential.
And tenor, ear.
Tenor means to have, but also used in idioms like tenor hambra, to be hungry, or tenor ex años, to be X years old. Ir means to go, crucial for the near future. Voy a estudiar, I'm going to study. Hacer is to do or to make. Hacer la cama, make the bed.
And these all have their own unique present tense forms.
They do. Yo soy, yo estoy, yo tengo, yo voy, yo hago. You just have to memorize them. No shortcuts, really.
Okay, memorize the big five. What about hey? You mentioned that one too.
Oh, hey, super useful. It comes from the verb haber, but hey specifically means there is or there are.
And it doesn't change.
Nope. Same form for singular and plural. Hay un gato. There's a cat. Hay tres gatos. There are 3 cats. Super convenient.
That is convenient. One less thing to worry about. So what's the best way to tackle learning all these verb forms? It feels like a lot.
It is, but take it step by step. Practice conjugating regular verbs out loud. Use charts, flashcards, apps, whatever works for you. Then add the irregulars, maybe one at a time. Focus on the present tense first. Use them in simple sentences immediately. Remember, pronouns are often optional. And notice how verbs signal politeness. Tiene usted tiempo? The semi-formal have time.
The more you use them, the more automatic they become.
Practice, context, start simple. Makes sense. Okay, we've got structure, gender, articles, verbs. Let's tie things together with essential syntax, how words fit together. Where do adjectives usually go again?
Right. Key difference from English. Adjectives normally go after the noun in Spanish.
After. So, el coche rojo. Exactly, the car red. Una casa, house, big. There are exceptions, sure, for emphasis or certain types of adjectives, mucha gente, many people, buen amigo, good friend. But the default, the rule you should learn first is noun plus adjective.
Noun, then adjective. Got it. What about prepositions, those little connectors?
Absolutely vital. Words like at, of, from, en, in, on, at, con, with, para, for purpose, destination, por, for cause, duration, by.
So many uses for each one.
They are versatile. Voy a la tienda, I go to the store. El libro de Juan, Juan's book. En la mesa, on the table. Con mi amigo, with my friend. Estudio para aprender, I study in order to learn. Gracias por la ayuda, Thanks for the help. You'll get a feel for them with examples. And remember, Allen del.
Right, the contractions. And con has special forms too.
Yeah, complice me becomes conmigo with me. And complice you informal becomes contigo with you.
Conmigo, contigo. Okay, now asking questions again, but with the question words. ¿Qué, quién, dónde? Where do they go?
They almost always start the question. And they all have written accents. ¿Qué? What? ¿Quién? Who? ¿Dónde? Where? ¿Cuándo? When? ¿Por qué? Why? ¿Cuál? Which? ¿Cuán? ¿Poco así? ¿Cuánto? How much? Many?
Accents are important.
Crucial. They distinguish them from non-question words. The structure is usually a question word plus verb plus subject optional. ¿Qué quieres? What do you want?
¿Dónde vives?
Where do you live?
And remember, por qué, why is 2 words, but por qué, because it's 1 word, no accent.
¿Por qué versus por qué? Got it. How about possession? English uses, how does Spanish do my brother's house?
No apostrophes in Spanish. You use de or the coche de María. It's always thing possessed plus de tu owner.
Always that order.
Always.
Yeah.
La casa de mi hermano. Literally the house of my brother.
Yeah.
El coche de María. The car of María.
Ugh.
Simple and consistent.
That is simpler, actually. Okay, last syntax bit. Comparisons. Bigger, smaller, as tall as.
Right. For more than, use más.
Wow.
So, María es más alta que Juan. María is taller than Juan.
There's
Taller. It is.
huevos.
Tengo menos dinero que tú. I have less money than you.
Más que. For equality, as. As? It depends. With adjectives, use tan. Como. Juan es tan inteligente como María. Juan is as intelligent as María.
Tan. Como for adjectives.
And with nouns, as much, many. As. Use tanto as. Como has to agree in gender and number with the noun. Tengo tantos libros como tú. I have as many books as you. No tengo tanta paciencia como él. I don't have as much patience as him.
Tanto como for nouns, and it changes.
Oh, okay.
Más que menos que tan como. Tanto como. That covers the basics. It really feels like these pieces are starting to form a picture.
They do. And you start combining them. Remember, useful structures like a star plus the ing form. Estoy aprendiendo, I'm learning. For ongoing actions, or tener plus que plus infinitive, tengo que practicar, I have to practice, for obligations. The best way now is to try putting them together yourself.
Okay, let's make it really practical. Can you walk us through a mini dialogue? Show us these things in a real conversation.
Perfect idea. Let's imagine Anna and Carlos meeting for the first time. Simple, everyday exchange.
Great, let's hear it.
Okay, Ana starts.
Hola, ¿cómo te llamas?
Hola, mucho gusto, me llamo Carlos. ¿Y tú, cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Ana. Soy de Inglaterra. ¿Dónde eres?
Soy de México. ¿Eres estudiante?
Sí, soy estudiante de español. Estoy aprendiendo. ¿Hablas inglés?
Hablo un poco, pero prefiero hablar en español para practicar.
Está bien. No entiendo algunas palabras, pero quiero aprender más.
Poco a poco. ¿Cómo se dice practice en español?
Se dice practicar.
Gracias.
De nada.
That's brilliant. So much packed in there. ¿Cómo te llamas? Me llamo. Mucho gusto. ¿Y tú?
¿Y tú?
Estoy-
Soy de Arente. ¿De dónde eres?
Ya, soy estudiante.
No, exactly. No article there.
Right. Then, estoy aprendiendo. ¿Hablas inglés? No entiendo. Quiero aprender. And it's super useful. ¿Cómo se dice? Se dice. Plus gracias and de nada. All using the informal too.
Precisely. You see how those building blocks come together naturally? If it were formal, it'd be, ¿Cómo se llama usted? ¿De dónde es usted? Using those third-person forms.
That dialogue really helps cement it. Can you give us a list of maybe like essential beginner phrase templates, things we can just plug our own words into?
Absolutely. These are great starting points. Me llamo. My name is Uriah. Estoy ahí. I am nationality profession. Tengo años. I am years old. Soy de. I'm from Quiliocinglo. Vivo en. I live in. Hablo. I speak.
Estoy bien cansada, etc. I'm well tired, etc. Using a star for states. No entiendo. I don't understand. Puede repetir, por favor. Can you repeat, please? Puede hablar más despacio. Can you speak more slowly?
¿Cómo se dice en español? How do you say Spanish? Significa haciar. What does this mean? ¿Dónde está? Where is de? Using a star for location. Quiero. I want. Necesita. I need. Me gusta.
Que gusto. I like us. Remember the article often needed here. Me gusta el café. Tengo que ir. I have to, followed by an infinitive.
Those are gold, real practical tools. Okay, let's try building a sentence together, step by step, thinking through the rules. How about, my friend has a red car? Assume a male friend.
Okay, my friend, male, is mi amigo.
Right?
Has, that's from tenor. Third person singular for él. He's es tiene.
Mi amigo tiene.
A red car. Car is coche, which is masculine. So a car is un coche.
Un coche.
So red is rojo. Where does it go?
After un coche rojo. Perfect. Put it all together. Mi amigo tiene un coche rojo. You've got possessive, verb conjugation, indefinite article, noun, and adjective agreement. Boom.
It works. Okay, one more. The house is small but very pretty.
All right. The house.
La casa
Feminine.
It's describing a characteristic, so we use
Ser, third person. Es, la casa.
es.
Small. Adjective needs to agree with casa.
Pequeña, feminine ending. La casa es pequeña.
But. Very pretty. Pretty is bonita. Feminine again. Very is muy.
Pero muy bonita.
You got it. La casa es pequeña, pero muy bonita. Definite article, ser, adjective agreement, conjunction. See, you're applying the rules.
Okay, this is really helpful. Now, for everyone listening, can you give them a few quick practice sentences to try translating themselves?
Definitely. Grab a pen or just think them through. Try these. 1, the dogs are big. Dogs perros, big grandes. 2, I don't have siblings. Siblings hermanos. 3, we're in a hurry. Hint, use tenor prisa. 3, we are in a hurry. Hint. 4, are you tired? Use informal do. Tired. Counts a dua. 5, my friend, female, is learning Spanish. Hint. Use estar plus gerund. Friend amiga.
Great practice. And we'll put the answers in the show notes for you to check. As we wrap up, any final words of wisdom or encouragement for our Spanish learners?
Yes, absolutely. The most important thing truly is don't be afraid to make mistakes. Seriously. They are not failures. They are literally how you learn.
Part of the process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every expert I know emphasizes this. Each mistake gets you closer. So practice, practice, practice. Embrace the tricky bits. Don't let errors shut you down. You will get there, and you'll start speaking with more confidence sooner than you think.
Keep going.
Yeah, and immerse yourself when you can. Use new words right away. Ask questions, como se dice, and ¿qué significa? Are your best friends. Learning Spanish opens so many doors. It's genuinely rewarding.
Fantastic advice. Buena suerte y adelante. Keep at it. Ánimo y a practicar. And seriously, congratulations to you for starting this journey.
Definitely. And maybe as a final little task for yourself, try writing just a few sentences about you in Spanish right now. Your name, where you're from, age, where you live, one like, one obligation. Simple stuff like, me llamo name, soy de country. Tengo 8 años. Vivo en city. Me gusta something. Tengo que creer. Do something. Just apply what we talked about.
That's a perfect, concrete way to put it all into practice immediately. Well, a massive thank you for breaking all that down so clearly today. We drew on lots of great resources from educators and grammar guides for this deep dive. So, to everyone listening, buena suerte y diviértete aprendiendo.